Okay, moving on to the Central Division. Starting off with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Milwaukee.
Who else? It's Algonquin for the good land. Um, who else steps up if Middleton still isn't who he used to be?
Really proud that you got that reference. I think there's a
I
big
grew
alarm.
up in Milwaukee. Of course, I got that reference.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm a little worried about. I could see Milwaukee going two directions this year. I think the Damian Lillard revenge tour is going to be legit. I think Giannis is going to be possessed. Middleton, I'm scared about. I'm scared this is going to get ugly in a hurry. I feel like he's gotten old quick.
Yeah, so they were like their net rating. Obviously, whatever. I don't need to do a qualifier every time I mention that. But they were still better with him on the floor last year than off. But I think that's more a testament to how bad their rotation pieces were.
We got to give a shout out to Jack. Jack, we have not gotten to Portland. Thank you for the shout out. We have not gone to Portland yet, so we'll get to that, and I will have plenty of Tumani Kamara comments. Gosh, I love that one. Milwaukee, who's stepping up for AJ Johnson? Looked good the other night, by the way.
And he's not playing this year.
I know he's not.
Project,
he shouldn't,
but he's a project I feel very good about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so last year, Connaughton, who was one of their big role players when they won the title, huge drop off. On-off differential of a minus 6.2 net rating. Beauchamp had a rough summer league, continuing to struggle in preseason. 36.4% shooting overall, plus minus of minus 7.7. Chris Livingston had some interesting flashes during summer league, shooting 20% from the floor, minus 7.5. Andre Jackson, 23.1% shooting, minus 5.7%, or plus minus of minus 5.7. New additions of Gary Trent, Taurean Prince, and DeLon Wright. I think that's just going to be it. But man, the window for this team is damn near closed.
Yeah, they're going to try to moneyball it to replace Middleton with those vets, which is fine, which is completely fine. You just got to get a punch from everybody else. Trent, I think they're going to lean on.
I think he's going to have a good year.
I think he's going to have a very good year.
I like the Taurean Prince signing. I like the DeLon Wright signing. I like those signings.
You just would like those signings
for has to return to what he was in Portland, and I think his struggles last year were well documented, and his kind of tenaciousness of returning to that form this summer has also been well documented. Just so much of this relies on what does Middleton look like, because when he's right, this team is very, very good. But when he's not, there's like, are they better than the Sixers? Are they better than the Knicks? Are they better than the Cavs? I'm not sure.
I think Dame's going to shock people this year with how scary he's going to look. I understand why he had a down year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Middleton's contract. Milwaukee's the biggest. I'm keeping a close eye on you during the trade deadline because I feel like that's a Middleton move of like selling him for a couple pieces that were like, what are they doing? And then you're just like, well, they got to get some depth. I'm fine with those vets they have. Completely fine with it. I'd love if those were the guys that were like 3 spots in the depth chart lower.
Yeah.
Instead, you're like, now we got to play them. So
because Chris Middleton, who's eating up $31.5 million this year and has a player option of $34 million next year, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that he picks that up. He's just not performing to what that salary spot and his history of success requires. And I hope he gets healthy, but coming off of what, double or triple ankle surgery at his age, not ideal stuff.
Yeah, so he's 33. He played 55 games last year, 33 games the year before. Last year, he averaged 15 a game. Middleton scares the crap out of me as a Celtics fan. Every time he plays the Celtics in the playoffs, I'm just like, Middleton becomes a horrifying individual. That's something like, shout out Jack, just said Middleton in the first for Jeremy Grant. Something like that is going to be like very intriguing, where it's like, well, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to watch Milwaukee this year, because I feel like if you're hovering around, then they're waiting for Middleton to get back. Could be something where you're kind of like, hey, we're maybe going to move on and get something that can help us with this push right now.
All right. Anything else on the Bucks?
No, I'm scared to be honest. That's it.
He's kind of good.
He's good.
Hot take. All right. Moving on to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kind of the biggest question with this team is, can they figure out how to play Mobley and Allen together? So obviously both in their own right, fantastic players. They had a plus 5.6 net rating with Allen on the court and Mobley off. That was a 112.7 defensive rating and a 118.3 offensive rating. With Mobley on and Allen off, their net rating was plus 1.5. Defensive rating was almost identical at 112.4. Offensive rating dropped to 113.9. With both on the floor, that net rating was just 0.3, with the defensive rating of 112.5. So common theme here is Evan Mobley's offense was just brutal for them last year, and he hasn't taken that jump like we've hoped he is. So do you see any route for them kind of figuring out how to play together without Mobley taking that huge offensive leap like we hope he can and will?
I mean, where are you at with Mobley? I'm still a very big fan.
Yeah, same. I think this roster fit is a little. I think it's a little clunky, just fit for him. And that's not excusing anything, because if you're going to be great, you got to figure out how to play with anyone. I think he's really smart. The defense is incredible. It's really high level stuff. I thought there would be more to the offensive game. To this point, not necessarily of being like a scoring dynamo, but a little more kind of like how we've seen Bam's offense grow and develop and evolve with his ball skills and his passing and his kind of DHO and pick and roll versatility with keepers and, just being super versatile in those two-man games. Because I really liked his passing coming out of USC, and I thought that IQ was through the roof. But given the ball handlers and the offensive initiators on that team and just the rest of the pieces, he hasn't really been able to show a ton of that. But I think that would be a really intriguing way to kind of unlock his, or kind of spark plug his offense, especially when he's on the court without Allen. When they're together, it's just kind of clunky if he's not going to shoot it at all.
Yeah, it's I love Mobley. He's 23 years old. It's gonna be his fourth year. You go look at his numbers; they've basically improved every year. He was 15-8-2 as a rookie. 16.2-9 last year and 2. You could say fine, okay, his points per game went up a little bit. Last year he was still almost 15-10-3 with almost a block and a half. 57% from the field, 37% from three. I think it's context. I think it's a little weird fit. I'm not slandering Donovan Mitchell. He's fantastic. I think they've got two bucket getters, and then Mobley's kind of third in line now. And playing alongside Jared Allen, I get the idea. I think it's a little bit kind of what me and you talk about with OKC, where it's like you got Hartenstein not to move Chet to the floor permanently, to have the versatility now to be like, we could either play Chet at the 5 or we can bring in a big man. I feel like Cleveland's been all in on doing the two bigs. And I'd love Mobley to have more small ball 5. Now, Cavs fans can come at me and throw all these numbers at me. Fine. You got me. You won. I would just like to see, and they got a new coach this year.
Yep.
So I'm interested for Mobley this year. I think this is a big
huge year for him.
Yeah.
In one way or the other.
I think he's going to be around 17.5 a game, and maybe 17.5 and 9.8. We're probably talking about, here we go. Like if he takes that jump, I would like that roster to change a little bit. I love Jared Allen. I feel like it's like a writing on the wall of like, hey, maybe we could get a little bit cheaper version of this and give Mobley some more runs. So talk to me. You got that look in your eye. I see it.
I was just, if we're going to talk about moving pieces around, one of the teams that I kind of kept looking at was the Pelicans. And we can talk about them later. We can table this until then too, if you'd like. But I mean, like, initially I thought of like, and this doesn't work after the DeJounte move, but a Darius Garland for Brandon Ingram trade straight up works. But then the Pelicans need a center. Does Brandon Ingram for Jared Allen, and whatever you want to make you more comfortable with that. Well, if I'm New Orleans, I'm hanging up immediately. But
I would literally hang up so fast. No, but I understand what you're saying, and now I'm fascinated. But I think you have to get to a point where in your Cleveland, like, yes, Jared Allen's been a nice piece for you, but can you get that at a cheaper dollar? And then let Mobley, and if it comes down to, hey, is Mobley taking that step and you start feeding him more minutes? Is Jared Allen's contract not even that bad and I'm just a jerk? Yeah, he's 20 mil still for the next 2 years. Goodness. Okay, so it's kind of a bargain, but then it jumps to 28. So maybe we're 2 years ahead of this talk. We're 2 years from being 2 years ahead. I don't know. It just seems funky. I have big expectations for Mobley this year. Sorry, Cavs fans, that's not what you wanted to hear, but I just think he needs to be unleashed a little bit. Like let him get a little bit more run, let him play more. I think his minutes went down last year, and he still was like better numbers. So new coaching. What are you thinking? Come on.
No, I just think it's a tricky roster fit, and it kind of reminds me of the Timberwolves fit with Cat and Rudy, but obviously Cat is an elite shooter and has that floor spacing, and Mobley's obviously a better defender than that. But the lineup, the difficulties with the lineup construction with two guys like that who should both be starters in the league, it just gets really tricky really fast if there's a glaring hole. And with the Timberwolves, it was Cat's defense, and it took a long time for them to figure out how to play together. With the Cavs, it's been Mobley's lack of shooting, and Jared Allen's never going to be a shooter, and it's going to come down to Mobley developing that or not. And if he doesn't, all of the numbers for the last 3 years tell us that it's just a pairing that isn't going to work.
It's not.
Defensively, they'll be fantastic, but you still have to score.
It's a logjam. I feel like Mobley,
and it makes life a lot harder on small guards like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland.
I completely agree. You're creating a logjam of space. That's why I want, like, get Mobley at the 5, space it out a little bit. He doesn't have to shoot it. He just hits the little corner jumper, little 18-footer, and you're opening up driving lanes for Garland and Mitchell. So, but I understand why you want Jared Allen to also be there, because now you have 2 shot blocking defensive bigs. I just, and I like Kenny Atkinson a lot. I'm very pumped. I think that was a great hire by the Cavs. Get someone fresh in there. He always has those teams playing so damn hard. I'm pumped to see what they do. I just have always felt it's a little weird. It just seems like it's like, hey, this isn't going to work. Or we've found out the answer to this. Let's try to find something new, and maybe they change up the rotations. I don't know, but I would like to see Mobley a little bit more at the 5. Maybe you get him another rebounder or something, but yeah, we spent so much time on that. I'm pumped about it.
All right, let's move on to the Indiana Pacers. And my big question with them was last year real?
Yeah. They're fun.
They are fun.
They're fun and good. They're fun and good, and they were missing some pieces, and I think they're going to be much better this year. You're doubting.
No, I'm not doubting. I'm just asking questions.
Goodwill Hunting mode, and you're going to tell me now all these numbers point to a regression. Just do it. Get the whiteboard or chalkboard.
I'm just asking questions and providing info. So last year, they were very good. They were very fun. Their offense was incredible. They were one of the best watches on League Pass, and in the playoffs had an incredible run. They didn't make the playoffs the previous 3 years, made it to the conference finals as the 6th seed. Their offensive rating jumped from 114.7 to 121.6. Their defensive rating didn't change from 118.7 to 118.9. A couple of years ago, a team had a eerily similar kind of resume where they didn't make the playoffs the previous 3 years and lost in the conference finals as the 5th seed. From 20 or in the year before they made the conference finals, and to that conference finals year, their offensive rating jumped from 107.4 to 115.7, and their defensive rating went from 115.3 to 113.1. That team proceeded to finish 9th, 8th, and 10th in the next 3 consecutive years. That's the 2020-21 Atlanta Hawks. So I'm just asking, was last year real for the Pacers?
I think it's real.
Okay.
Because I think you're getting Mathurin, you're getting Jarris. I think is going to be a nice bench piece. You're getting a lot of those young guys that had great years now are the next step. Ben Shepherd. The gang's back together. They got some depths. I think it's real. You're a doubter.
No, I'm just asking questions.
Right. Well, let's keep that simple then. Let's keep it simple, okay? We don't need to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers for another 20 minutes. Let's just keep it simple. Yes, it's real.
I think at worst, they're at least fun.
Real, man.
At minimum, they're going to be fun. All right, let's move on to the Chicago Bulls. And if you thought me leading off the show asking about the Celtics rim protection was very specific, just wait until you get this one. How real is Julian Phillips's preseason? So currently averaging 21.7 minutes, 53.6% from the floor, 13.3 points, 5.7 3-point attempts, 47.1% from 3, and 4.7 rebounds. Second year wing out of Tennessee.
It's really real, man. It's real. Shout out all Most Famous fans. It's real. Real. We also should have said, is Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball going to be the most electric fast break duo of all time? See them throwing some transition hit aheads yesterday, or just
I would just like Lonzo to make it through the year. That's my hope with Lonzo.
Positivity.
Great to see
positivity.
Him on the court. Was thrilled.
I think they're gonna. I have no idea what the Bulls bench is going to be. I feel like they have 8 guards, and they've got to play Julian Phillips and Buzelis, and they re-signed Patrick Williams, right?
Yeah.
Which I was like, hey, what are we doing? But okay. I love those ones where I'm like, who's outbidding you? Who's outbidding you for Pat? I don't know. Their team's just another island of misfit toys. Would you rather have Toronto or Chicago?
Toronto, because I have Scotty.
I would Toronto. Yeah, Scotty. But I think he could play Julian this year. I think he'd get a little bit of bench run. The defense is going to be why he gets on the court.
Okay, cool. That's all I have with the Bulls. No, I'm really encouraged. I liked Julian's kind of summer league. I thought he showed some stuff. I really liked him coming out of Tennessee. I thought he was really raw. It was going to take a little bit of time, but if he's able to carry over any of this from the preseason to the regular season, I think
David Stud.
I think they could sneakily. Obviously, I don't think he's going to shoot 47% from 3 all year, but I think there'd be a really solid rotation player in year 2, and I think that'd be way ahead of schedule for him.
If he all of a sudden becomes legit this year and is like, oh, Julian Phillips is for the Bulls' future, and like they have him and Buzelis, like they'll have some stuff cooking now. I don't know if it's my type of ingredients that I would like to have in my kitchen, but they'll have something cooking. Like, that's all I got. Go Bulls.
All right. Let's move on to the Detroit Pistons. And this one's pretty self-explanatory for me. Is Cade going to make the jump?
I'm so tired of the Cade doubters. So tired of it. Yeah, he is.
Okay. Why?
He's gonna. Why do you not feel that way? I'm tired of always answering the question.
No. Every time Cade comes up in our group chat, I'm the first one to jump on and be like, this dude was the most impressive player, one of the most impressive players on the court when I saw him live a couple times. He dictated everything against the Timberwolves. He's so good, and he's been surrounded by complete incompetence his entire professional career. So, no, I'm not doubting Cade. I'm not a Cade hater. I think he's going to be very good this year.
We have a project coming out for No Ceilings, NBA.com. Plug number 1, getting the cobwebs off. Going to get better about it for the upcoming season. Less than 20 days. And it's an NBA project. And Cade got brought up. And I think I apologize, Metcalf, because I believe you and me were defending that. A couple other Cade followers were with us, and it got ugly. And I just always have, I think he rocks. He's 23. He's coming off a year averaging 22, 4, and 7.5 on 44, 35, 86.9 with no help whatsoever. Yes, I've watched games and I'm like, okay, Cade, you got to clean that up, man. I've also watched games where I'm like, this dude is unreal. He's so good. If he just had some help around him, I think they're going to be much more exciting this year. I actually have liked watching Ivy. I feel like it's going to be a fun, finally, maybe this is the bounce back year.
Imagine what happens. It's crazy what happens when you play a guy.
Yeah, over Killian Hayes. So it's who's in Brooklyn. We should have talked about Killian Hayes and Ben Simmons.
Oh, he's gonna eat into Cam's shot.
Yeah, so the Cam thing's under. I think Cade is gonna take that leap. I still think he's a heck of a player, and I think he's gonna end up when he gets through and makes that All-Star team. I think he's going to be one of those guys that sticks. Is it in Detroit? I hope for Pistons fans. Is he a second team guy? If I was a GM, I would be calling nonstop of hey, what can I get Cade for? Because the talent's clearly there. And you don't have a 6'6" shifty guard like that can do a lot of stuff on the court. He's getting better every year. Now, yes, his second year he didn't play a ton, but I'm still saying he's on the rise. What about you?
Yes, when we talk about or think about building an NBA team, and it's one of the big or most difficult things is finding that offensive engine who just makes everything go. And they come in different forms and shapes and sizes, but I really think Cade is that guy where the way that his two-man game with Duran really grew last year while playing with zero spacing was incredibly impressive. And he still found guys open on the perimeter. Last year, his assist percentage of 35.9 ranked in the 100th percentile. His assist to usage ratio of 1.08 ranked in the 94th percentile. And that was all with Detroit never ranking better than 27th in effective field goal percentage and 19th in three-point percentage since they drafted him. Now, obviously, his own shooting woes and struggles and inconsistencies have played into those numbers. But even last year, his three-point percentage jumped to 37%. A lot of that was him being over 40% on open three-pointers, but those are high-efficiency looks, and he's making them. And his mid-range was up to 44% last year, which ranked in the 68th percentile. Still really struggled at the rim, 19th percentile at just 56%, but 53.7% of his shots were considered tightly guarded, and that's where the defenders within 4 feet of him. There was nothing in terms of spacing on this team. It's been well documented. But when you look at who they added, and Tobias Harris, a career 37% three-point shooter, Malik Beasley, a 38.5 career three-point shooter, Tim Hardaway Jr., a 36% career three-point shooter, and a full season of Fontecchio, who's a 37.5% career three-point shooter and shot 42.6% with the Pistons from three last year. I think that mid-range is going to open up for Cade. I think the at-rim stuff is going to open up for him. And I think the two-man game with him and Duran is going to get a lot more versatile, a lot more efficient, and a lot more deadly. So if he doesn't take the jump this year, especially on the offensive end, then it's like red flags. Then I'm really concerned about him reaching the heights that I thought he could. But I think he's finally in a setting and in a context where there's at least some sort of competency and sense with the roster construction.
Tobias is a big ad for him. And I do like a lot of those other pieces that you brought up. I think they're trending in the right direction. It's just not going to be the biggest names, but I think Tobias is going to be big for him. Like I know small sample size, but like last year, Cade was going on a little bit of a heater in like December. He had a 6-game stretch of averaging 32, 5, and 8 on like 50, 50, 85. He was just cooking. Then he had like one bad game, but had like 10 assists. Then he followed that up with 31 and 30 in back-to-back games. So I think last year we were starting to see it really come to the surface of like Cade being that takeover. Now, can we get that next level? And he was the Team USA select guy this offseason, and we all know how I feel about those guys. So, yeah, I'm all in on Cade having another year forward, and I think those guys are going to help him take that step. And then I think it's going to be clear of like, okay, Cade's what we thought he's going to be. Now you better damn build around him and keep building and keep getting him guys.
Okay, let's move on to the Orlando Magic after our last ad break.